Okay, so we're on.
Yeah.
So I don't remember the email. You want to tell me a little bit?
Yes, I emailed and I saw your interview with Rick on Buddha at the gas pump, and just resonated with all that you said. And I am a student of A Course in Miracles. I'm not sure if you've heard of that, but it has the same message. And basically, I believe that the world is a dream. And I see that visually. I had a spiritual awakening, I think it's about 8 years ago now, where my vision changed, and I guess I would describe it as seeing with the one mind instead of the body's eyes, sort of, and it shows me that we're all one, and that forms are just images, but I still experience duality, and so I feel initially there was a lot of conflict because it scared me. I didn't have any belief in what's happening. I guess I was probably agnostic. I just didn't spend a lot of time thinking about it or know another. And then I have this experience that sort of was telling me I wasn't what I thought I was, and nothing was what I thought I was. And so I spent a number of years very frightened. I have boys also, and I think being a mom and being in that role was initially scary to think that wasn't real. And so since that time, I found the Course in Miracles and sort of was able to make sense of everything, understand it, and I've let go of a lot of fear, but still, and then maybe not so much conflict, but changing back and forth between identification with my story and resisting things, and just experiencing duality, and then knowing that isn't really true. So when I heard you talk, I liked that. I've heard a lot of spiritual speakers sort of go only so far, and I think that's maybe where I am, where you realize the world isn't real, but you still are attached to it, or clinging to it, or trying to make it real somehow. I felt like you were inviting listeners to sort of let go fully if they were ready. And so I decided to do that.
That's good. The invitation is for you to see from within. You can hear?
Yes. And my volume is a little low, but I can.
The mind has to be clear, because if it's not clear, it gets confused, and part of the mind is confusion. So the experience of who you truly are, which is absolutely still, it has nothing to do with the world. It alone exists. And when the mind comes back, because of what they call vasanas, habits, it's dormant latencies that are charged still energetically. So when they come into the surface, the thought has energy and it demands one's attention, and then action follows. So this is what happens even if someone awakens to who they are. In the next moment, the thought appears and it demands the attention of the mind, and then you identify with their thought and you believe it to be real, and then you react to either thoughts or sensation, bodily sensation. So the mind has to be clear in order to continue to undo the beliefs, the ideas, the thoughts, the concepts. Yes? And then also when fear rises, or when there is doubt, to know how to discriminate the fear, to know how to discriminate the doubt, to doubt the doubt itself, because who you are has no doubt, because it has no thought. So only a thought can doubt about something. The experience of who you are, in that experience when there is silence, there is no doubt. All there is peace. And
I have experienced moments of that, and I guess that is what feels difficult, is that I have moments of it and then I back in that.
It's no problem. It just the difficulty can only be because you have an idea that the thoughts should not appear anymore, or there shouldn't be any identification with the thoughts, which this is a negative thought into itself, because if you have a thought, or I have a thought, or anybody, that the mind shouldn't identify with thoughts, when it identifies, it reacts to the identification. So it perpetuates the false identity like that. That's a trick of the mind. This is why it's really key to see how the mind and its working, how the phantom, which we call mind, plays itself out. So one can work with it in a relaxed manner and not react to it. Because when you react to something, you cannot work with it skillfully. You cannot examine it because you're scared of it, you don't want it, then it turns to be an enemy. And instead of, it's to look at the thoughts as friends. Friends we get to know. Friends we come to meet them with understanding and clarity. So the thoughts have to be looked as friends, not as enemy. This is the habit, is to, when I don't want particular thoughts, I want to get rid of them. So now when they appear, they don't ask my permission. Thoughts appear and disappear, and when the thought appear and I don't like it, I start to react to it. I don't want it, I want to get rid of it. Then I perpetuate energetically, I feed energy into these thoughts. So I actually want to be free of them, and unknowingly I sustain them.
I agree with that, and I have sort of come to that same conclusion. And so what I find myself doing is trying to allow myself to feel whatever uncomfortable feelings come up. Sometimes if I know I'm identifying with a thought that's, not what I want, because I feel badly, I'll sit down and meditate and try and let myself feel it fully, in hopes there's that.
It's good.
Yeah, but
it's not enough.
It makes me how it happens again and again, even though I feel like I'm opening myself up to it.
Because it's not enough.
What's that?
It's not enough. I'll explain why. Let me speak a little bit about the nature of the mind, so there's clarity. And the invitation is for you to look and examine it and see it from within for yourself. Yes? So, few things. First of all, if you look at thoughts and emotions, emotion is only a physical reaction in the body to a belief, to a thought I identify with. Yes? So, the moment there's emotion, there's an identification. Because emotion is only in the body as a physical sensation, all it takes is one moment to be aware of it without reacting to that sensation. Means even if you just breathe into the sensation and you feel the sensation synchronized with the breath, that moment the mind cannot resist the sensation because it is with the breath. That's enough. Once you are aware of the sensation, it didn't label it in any way, because a sensation without a label is pure. Yeah? So it's not emotion, it's not sadness, it's not anger, it's neither of these. Yeah? These are labeling of the mind. So once you're aware of the sensation, you can use the breath. Now I call it, this is the first floor of the house. Now you have to go to the second floor, which is the thoughts. Because the thoughts are the ones who cause this feeling, this sensation. You have to check which thought were you identifying with, if you can. Because not always you can know the thought that caused you this emotion, because it's stored in a storage, what the sages call cheat. It's a storage of memory that has all the memory of the whole universe, and it has memory of the stories that are personal as well. Yes? So sometimes when there is emotion, we cannot trace what thoughts are, and that's fine. Then you just observe the emotion, the sensation as it is, and then you go to the thoughts and you work with the thoughts, not even looking which thought caused it. Means, because that's when you go to the second floor upstairs. If you don't leave the body and you stay even present with the body cannot take you to eternity. The being of who you are is eternity. It has no beginning, no end. It's changeless awareness. The body, the moment it is born, from that moment, its direction is only to death. Right? So how can we go using the body to experience who we are, which is eternity? We can't. We have to go to the second floor and work with the thoughts and go to the starting point where the thoughts arise from. And the thoughts arise from who you truly are. The beingness of who you are, which is absolutely still. So you want to follow the thoughts to the beginning. Yes? And because it is your true nature, if you can see the thoughts enough and you work with them, then who you are just reveals itself by itself. So when you go to the second floor, when you're emotional and now you work with the thoughts, then you left the body. Once you left the body, you're more inwardly in, and you're working now on the subtle. So you experience being more light, because the heaviness that we feel from sadness is because it is the body identification. It's in the physical realm. Where the thought is not in the physical realm, it's on the subtle. Yes? So now you work with the thoughts. And with negativity, a very simple way you can do it is a phrase and a question. A phrase and a question, and it can be spontaneous. I'll give examples so you and everyone who listens can actually put it into test and experience it for themselves. So we start. I identify with the thought. I don't maybe know what it is, and there is a bodily sensation, and I label it sadness. I stop for a moment and I feel it, where it is in the body. And emotions tend to be from the hips up to the head and the hands. We don't tend to feel emotion so much in our toes or pinky. Yeah, we don't. It's mainly from the hips up. Yes? Yeah?
A lot of chest.
Huh?
Chest.
Yeah, chest.
I experience my heavy.
That's right.
Resistance, sadness.
Yes, so now, and all of it coming to the surface to free itself. Because everything that is trapped has a yearning to free itself. So it comes to the surface to free itself. If you don't resist it, it frees itself. If you resist it, you sustain it. So now you don't have to be concerned, do I sustain it now or no? Leave it alone. Just know that all it takes is to be just present with it for a moment, in an instant, and just connect the breath with the sensation until you feel it breathing with the same rhythm with the breath, expanding and contracting, expanding. Yes? Once you experience it, then you leave the sensation alone and you go to the thoughts. And now you start with the negativity. I shouldn't experience this sensation. Is it true? And you don't answer. This is sadness. Is it true? I should be beyond this experience. Is it true? This is a negative sensation. Is it true? I shouldn't have resistance in my mind. Is it true? And you go on and on spontaneously. You stay with the thoughts like that. So it's a phrase, negativity, and a question. Is it true? You just question that thought, because that brings a light into the thought. Yes? So you don't even need to answer. You just see it internally. So now, as what happens, the mind gets to be concentrated. When you concentrate, because we have only one thought at a time, you are not aware of the body. You left it alone. Yeah, it's like sitting and you observe the sensation, and suddenly you have thoughts and you start dreaming. You left the sensation. Except it didn't bring you clarity. So when you work with the thoughts like that, you left the bodily sensation, so you didn't ignore. You were fully aware of it, there was no resistance, and then you left it to do its own course, because now you concentrate with the mind. As the mind gets concentrated, then what happens, the mind is mentally sharpening and active. There is no mental reaction. Yes? So far it's clear?
Yeah, I wasn't sure initially what you meant by staying with the thought, but you're saying you question the thought.
You literally, it's concentrate, like a phrase and a question, and you move to the next and a question, and you do it for as long as you can concentrate. It clears a lot of negativity like this. Mm-hmm. It's very simple yet effective to clean negativity from the system. Because
I like the idea that you don't have to sit and stew in the feeling, because I think that's what I was doing, trying to be open to it, and but just that it takes really a moment of true feeling and connecting.
It just a moment of presence, that's all that it takes. What happens if you don't, the mind out of habit reacts to the sensation. So people think they sit presently with the sensation, and just for a moment, and most of it they react to it. So unconsciously they feed the energy. And then the cause of the sensation, the bodily sensation, was the beliefs anyway, the thoughts. So let's go and work with the thoughts, and then you suddenly on the subtle, closer to the source of light, which is you, to the beingness of who you are. Okay? And that's very effective for negativity. And negativity is common. There's no problem with that. It's just thoughts. Yes? That out of habit, I think that I am thinking them and that they are mine, and I identify like This is my possession. Not realizing that I actually don't have any relationship with this thought, because I am the silent awareness that never moves. So this is one thing with emotion that is very easy. Just one thing to be aware that can be a trap is don't get attached to a future outcome when you work with the thoughts.
That was one of my questions, because I do struggle with letting go and just trying to go with the flow and let, I call it spirit, guide my life, or
One second.
I know that thoughts do create the physical form, so how much should I be trying to think
1 second.
positive things or having affirmations that...
Let's stop 1 second, Rebecca.
What's that?
Let's stop 1 second.
Okay.
You see, this belief that the thought creates the physical is a scary thought.
Yes, it is.
And if you don't question this, is it true? Then you might believe that it is. Because what happens, people overlook, or the mind overlooks, and I ask them, what's more real? The objective world or the thoughts? Okay, so let's look at few ideas, examine them, yes? The wise brought knowledge, and the knowledge is like a medicine for the mind. And because knowledge is not affected by time, means it was 10,000 years ago and it would be 10,000 years from now, and it applies till now. Therefore, it described the universal law of nature, or the universal law of the mind. It's not personal, nobody owns it. Yes? The wise used 3 states: the waking state, dreaming state, and deep sleep state. Okay? These 3 states really help the mind discriminate, wake up from this dream. Let's look at right now dreaming state and waking state, just between these 2 states. The dreaming state, while the mind is dreaming, basically it's only a subtle world, inner world, okay? Subtle means thoughts. Yeah? In the dreaming state, we lose all the objective world. We lose all the objects of the world. So far it's clear?
Losing the objects of the world in the dream. I guess I don't follow that.
Okay. In the waking state, the 5 senses are open, right?
Oh, yeah.
And now we perceive the objects of the world.
Okay.
In the dreaming state, the 5 senses close down and we lose all the objects of the world. And now we have an inner world which is subtle, just thoughts, images, visions. The mind is active, dreaming. Yes? Means in the dreaming state, all there is the dream world. There is no objective world. I do not know if I have a house, money, sick, healthy, none of it, of the bodily and gross objects. Yes? Now in the dreaming, what happens, the mind identifies with the thought and the dream appears totally real. Right? That's the experience. Mm-hmm. Now, when I wake up from the dream, what do I realize? That it was just a dream, right? And that the dream was not real. Nothing that what I was thinking and dreaming happened. None of it. I might dream that I walk on a beach, yet the body lies in London in a bed. I dream that I speak with somebody that is no longer alive. In the dream it's possible. When I wake up, I realize none of it happened. Right? That enables us to see that when I wake up from the dream, no matter how bad the dream was, I'm freed from it when I realize it was not real. Yes?
Yes.
The other thing we can come and see is that anything that happened in the dream does not really meet the reality, life. Because none of it happened in life. Therefore, thoughts never meet life.
So we don't know what life is.
So life will call right now, let's say it's the reality, what is happening through the five senses. Yes?
Okay.
Means whatever thoughts we have in the moment, it's not ever happening in reality in life. I'm just imagining it. Therefore, all the fears I have never happen. Because I'm afraid of something in the future, yet reality is happening only right now. So what I'm afraid of is not happening right now. I'll give an example. Let's say I see a snake. It's 2 meters from me. The snake is not moving and I'm not moving now. I'm afraid that the snake would go towards me and sting me. Right? Yet the snake is there and I'm here standing. So I'm afraid that something gonna happen. It's not happening.
An idea.
Yeah. Now the snake comes and stings me. Now I'm afraid I'm not going to get to the hospital by time. Means it's already moved to the future, yet it's not happening because I'm not in the hospital. Once I get to the hospital, I'm afraid that they're going to have to cut my leg. I have still a leg. So it's always moving into the dream. Fear is a dream, is an illusion. It's never a real thing, and it never meets the reality, ever.
And I agree with that, and and that's my visual experience. I see that it's a play or a movie or a whatever.
Okay, so the thought never manifests the reality. Unless we are trapped in the dream, we believe there is a future.
Right.
And that's another habit. Because the habit of the mind is to dream, and then the habit is to believe that what I dream is real. So I believe that there is a past, and I believe that there is a future. Yet I imagine the past and the future in the moment, and none of it happening. The content of the thought is of the past, the content of the thought is of the future, yet I might be standing in a bus stop. Nothing to do with what happened during the day today, which I remember, or nothing with what I imagine I'm going to eat for dinner, which is not happened yet, because the body is standing in the bus stop. Okay? So this is the ability to discriminate. The mind has to have the ability to discriminate between imagination and what's happening in reality. And then between imagination and who you truly are, which is silence. Okay? So we go back, whatever we imagine never meets reality, ever. Whether it's fears, or whether it's positive thoughts. Okay? And the problem with positive thoughts is the moment you have a hope for them, you get attached to them. Once you keep getting attached to thoughts like that, you're going to get attached to negative thoughts too. Because the positive and negative, they just follow each other and cancel each other. So it's a trap. You have to step out of it, of this illusion. And stepping out of it is to first recognize who you are, which is the beingness, which is absolutely still. It is absolute, has no relative existence, nor it has no relationship with any thoughts, sensation, emotions, world, nothing to do with that. It's not a human. It is the source.
And we're afraid of that, right? I mean, I have moments when I wake up in the middle of the night and I know none of it's real and I feel fear.
Except that this is a trick of the mind. You're not afraid of the beingness of who you are, because you are the beingness of who you are. The mind doesn't know that. So what happens, it imagines something that scares itself. Because the mind cannot exist in the beingness of who you are, when you rest in the beingness of who you are. So what happens is that the mind scares itself, and then it appears to be more real, and then you identify as a separate entity. Yet you're not afraid of experiencing who you are, because every night everyone are looking forward to fall asleep into deep sleep when the thoughts subside into the source. There is a veiling there. So what happens, there is, the wise call it ignorance and bliss. Ignorance, I don't remember what happened when there was dreamless state. And bliss, I slept happily when I wake up. Yet the I thought was not present there. So what happens when you start to experience who you are in the waking state, then there is no ignorance. And then you experience the bliss, supreme bliss of the silence, which is you. Let's go back to the dreaming state and the waking state. In the dream, if you have a nightmare and you wake up from the dream and you realize it was just a dream, are you freed from it?
Yeah, I would think so.
Of course. Instantaneously you're freed from it. What can happen? You still have bodily sensation, emotions, because of the identification. If you don't react to the bodily sensation, there is no problem. You're freed. Okay? If you don't want the bodily sensation, now you resist it, the mind reacts to it, there is a false identification there. Okay? That's where you can come with the phrase and the question. Okay? I shouldn't have this emotion, is it true? I shouldn't experience what I experience right now, is it true? I know what's best for me, is it true? I'm a physical form, is it true? I'm a separate entity, is it true? I'm not the beingness which is absolutely aware, is it true? Thoughts are real, is it true? I'm the one who's thinking this thought, is it true? Without the thought I don't exist, is it true? Okay? This brings clarity. Boom, clarity. And then you are on the subtle now. You work on the subtle. The more the thoughts are transparent, the beingness of who you are can shine through freely. Okay? When the mind rests, because you start to see that every thought is a dream, is an illusion, the thought itself, then you stop feeding the energy and you stop reacting to the thoughts like they are real. Because as long as you don't realize that every thought is not real, the mind out of habit would look for the reality, for the source of who you are in the thoughts. And it's not there. You cannot find the truth in thoughts. The truth is beyond any thought. So you have to see that the thought is not real, that the thought is just a dream. Because then it makes it lighter. It's not so meaningful, no matter what thought the mind is thinking. It's not even you thinking it. It's the mind out of habit thinking this thought. You're this pure awareness that is changeless. So it's really key to see that every thought is like a dream, an illusion. And you start even talking to the thought. This is a dream, this is an illusion. Oh, she's dreaming these ideas. Okay. And wait a second, who am I? Am I the dreamer, or I'm that silent awareness which is in the background that never changes? Okay, I am that. So slowly you stop losing interest in the dream like it is the reality, like it's the truth. And if the mind reacts, say, okay, she's dreaming and she's reacting. I have nothing to do with that. I'm not this reaction. I'm not the one who is dreaming it. And then that's discrimination. And the more you discriminate the thoughts, the freer and lighter you start to experience, because the mind gets closer to the reflection of the light of who you are. You're not even undoing it. It's the mind undoing itself. You are the beingness which never changes, omnipresent, which is always aware. What?
Oh, I said, so your job is to get out of the way and let.
To remove, to undo, to clean, however term one is resonating for one, it doesn't matter. It's removing the sludge that covers the water. The sludge are the thoughts, the beliefs. And the water is the substratum, the base that is underlines, carries all this sludge. The sludge are the thoughts that appear to be real. And the beingness of who you are is the water. Remove the sludge, the water reveals itself. So it's really key to work with the thoughts. And it's good to concentrate, because some thoughts don't cause you suffering. I'm a physical body causes me a lot of suffering. I am, and anything you attached, a mother, it's causing suffering, because then you have all these responsibilities. You can be a mother without the idea that you are a mother. Then you're free. Yes? It doesn't contradict. Yet, if you would think, and you can choose a phrase, I am pure consciousness, or I'm ever free, I'm changeless awareness, and you concentrate that, you cannot suffer by this thought. It will concentrate the mind. You're going to be more on the subtle, less identification with the thoughts about the body, so you can experience lighter. And as the mind gets sharpened, then it's like one point in a white screen. Then suddenly the screen can shine through and reveal.
You said not to get attached to the outcome, which I agree with, but it's interesting for me that before my spiritual awakening, my life was very simple and comfortable, and after it, I've had many things come up to deal with that I never could have imagined. That on the surface, it seems to be a lot of struggle, and I'm hoping at some point that will settle.
Struggle is only because of identification with the thoughts. Struggle sits on either want, need, and should. I shouldn't have this experience. It shouldn't happen to me. I know what's best for me. I want something else than what is. So it's always a conflict with the reality, with life, with what is. Therefore, also that causes emotion as well. Because anytime you feel angry, it's always because you believe that something should be different. My son should behave differently. When in fact, in reality, he behaved just the way it is. I should have more money when in fact I don't. I should be healthy when I'm ill. I should have more friends when I don't. This always causes emotion and always causes conflict. You have to undo this. This is the engine of the ego, the false identification. I want what I don't have and I don't want what I have. So it's never content and satisfied. And I invite the mind to work with the dissatisfaction, to work with the negativity, to undo all of it. Because, yes, phrase and a question, or check. Okay, my son should behave differently. Now, am I dreaming it or not? So now I have to check what happens, how he behaves. He behaves just the way it is. So I'm imagining how he should behave. I'm dreaming right now. With my 5 senses open, I'm locked in a dream, in the mind. Also distinguish between suffering is only because of identification with thoughts. There is no suffering because of the objects of the world. So I can never struggle because of anything other than identifying with a particular thought or an idea. And the more you work with the thoughts, and you're less reactive to thoughts and sensation, which is objects of the world as well, then the more you can start experience who you are. And leave alone the past awakening. Because leave it alone, it's past. And awakening is every moment. Are you awake now? So you can be awake to the dream, means seeing the thoughts are not real. That's it, you're awake to the dream. Or you awaken fully to who you are, which is beyond the dream. Because otherwise you're holding to an experience that is no longer present. That's memory. And that causes you to compare, which causes you to struggle and suffer. It doesn't support the mind. So if you stick with this inner journey and you are working with the thoughts skillfully, the beingness who you are just shine forth more and more and more until it is permanent. And you have to work with the forgetfulness. You have to work with the identification, the false identification. And the wise brought it in a phrase. It's not being attached to future outcome means aversion to the enjoyment of the fruits of one's action now and later. This means, just to clarify, that every time the mind is attached to future outcome, I see it. It's not that I'm not supposed to get attached to a future outcome. Who I am never attached to future because it doesn't exist. It's omnipresent. It's just to see the habit of the mind. Oh, I'm taking an action and I'm attached to future outcome. I'm taking an action, I'm attached to future outcome. I'm still dreaming. I'm still imagining there is a future. Okay. That's okay. I'm watching the dreamer. I'm watching it.
Be aware.
Yes, watching it and question it. Is it me? And without this thought, who am I? Okay? You question it and you watch it. You're vigilant. You're alert. Fully. Every moment. Every thought.
It's like the Course. It's very similar to the Course in Miracles. There's actually a workbook where you're training your mind to watch your thoughts.
Yeah. And the more you discriminate mentally, concentrate mentally, and inquire mentally, the more you are in the second floor. The more you are second floor, you would be aware of every thought that appears. And because you're the awareness that is always aware, it sees. And when the thought disappears, it sees only itself, because it doesn't really see a thought. Awareness, pure awareness, is only aware of itself by itself. So it illuminates the thought, and when the thought disappears, you remain as awareness, and you know that not from the mind, because you are that.
And I'm just curious about you. Do you have, I think you call them vasanas, do you have thoughts that come up a lot? And
Now, we clarify, who am I? When you ask, do I have? So from the mind's perspective, the vasanas still play themselves out. From who I truly am, it never moves. So if I think I have vasanas, I identify with the thoughts. Yet I'm aware vasanas appear, yet they are not me.
they don't bother.
Yeah, I don't have a desire for it to be different, because the moment I do, I resist it. Welcome everything. And the whole idea of letting go is an outdated concept. It's not true. If you see something that is not real, you cannot get attached to it. We go back to the dream and the waking state, so you have this experience. So it's not like Alon is saying it. You dream at night, it appears totally real. You had a wonderful dream, the most amazing, although the mind is restless, so it's not so amazing. Now you wake up from the dream. You realize it was a dream. Did you let go of it?
You're saying there was nothing to let go of? Is that right?
That's right. It was not real. How did you let go of something that is not real in the first place? So how does the mind let go of something that is not real in the first place? There is no real thoughts. There is not one thought that is real. So how can I let go of something that is not real? I have just to realize it's not real. And then the mind turns away into reality.
I realized that initially I was focused on having to let go, and that was what scared me.
Yeah, suddenly because if I tell you, give me everything you have, you'll be scared. And if I'll take everything you have, you'll be angry.
Right.
Yet if you realize that everything you think you have is just imaginary, is all thoughts, ideas and beliefs, and they're not real, what are you scared then? And when you realize it's not even you, because you cannot lose you, when you start having glimpses of who you are,
Right.
anything that is lost opens to experience more the reality of you, which is infinite.
So it's shifting your identification with that which can't be changed or lost or...
That's right. So it's not the identification, it's shifting the attention. It's where the attention is. Out to the objects of the world, bodily sensation, energy, thoughts, or who you are. Then it's truly is a tool. The mind gotta have a tool. It gotta be precise, and it gotta be sharp and be used like a knife. The tool is not emotional. A knife doesn't care what it's gonna cut. Yet if it's not sharp and you take a dull knife, and cut a tomato, doesn't work so well. Yet when you sharpen it, it cuts smoothly the tomato. So discrimination is the knife. It's the higher mind that discriminates. Get the mind out of the dream and disappears. It's like a medicine. The lower mind that identifies with the body is basically the disease. That's a disease. It's driven by fear, conflict. Yes? That's disease, negative, dark. The higher mind discriminates these ideas, this illusion, so it's the medicine. Yet even the medicine is not real, because when the patient takes the medicine because he has a disease, two things disappear: the disease and the medicine. So the discrimination, concentration and inquiry into one's true nature is the medicine. Yet that's not the real thing. It's just a boat to take the mind to the other side of the river, or to bring the mind back home. So it's not that you're going back home. No, you are already that which is ever home, never changes. It's the mind forgot it, went out, believing, creating an illusion, and in that illusion dreams that it's going to find a reality, and it's lost in a maze of imagination. And now it has to find its way back, and that's what knowledge does, to go back to you.
Very much like what I've been studying. Amazing.
Very good. As long as the tools are sharp, there are many paths, many rivers reach the ocean. Yet when you reach the ocean, the river loses its river nature. All there is the ocean. So just make sure that the river the mind takes, can get you to the ocean. Because some rivers get dried up, never get to the ocean. Then it's not good enough. So it all depends on the maturity of the mind and the personality and the readiness for the mind to wake up from this dream and to experience who you are. So I tell people, whatever path you choose is the perfect right path for you. Just be aware that it can take the mind back home fully. And not leave you in the dream still.
Right. Well, I am in the dream state, but I recognize that it is a dream state, so it's a funny place to be.
It's not enough.
What's that?
It's not enough.
Yeah, exactly.
The mind has to... Once you start putting it into use, if you do, you would see for yourself. Ultimately is the experience one has. That's the ultimate, is the direct experience that one has. And then in the mind is the direct knowledge that one has. Because there are two ways we get knowledge. Indirect knowledge, we hear it, we read it. Direct knowledge, we see it, like with our eyes, yet it's inside in the mind from within. So it's not anymore somebody told me. I know that's how it is internally. Yet to know who you are, you can only experience. You cannot understand it.
Right. It's interesting for me because I do have the visual experience. I see what is true. So I need to, I guess, allow it to be and not. I mean, my experience has been that I shouldn't be experiencing duality because I know it's not true. But that's a form of resistance. I see that now.
Who is thinking this idea? You
Right.
or the mind?
The mind.
And who are you? You start checking it out. Who am I? Am I the one who's thinking, or I am absence of thoughts? Am I changing, or I am that changeless? Am I in a process, or I never move? Who am I? Am I the voice who is talking to itself, or the one who is silently aware? Who am I? And you check it out. You constantly, vigilantly examine. If you have the burning desire, the yearning for the mind to return back to who you are and dissolve there, rest there. It has to rest there. And the more the mind rests there, the experience is infinite. And it's so profound that even when the mind comes out, there is the knowing that the experience of what appears to be real is not even close to reality. I invite the people to work with the illusion. Don't try to jump beyond it. Because the one who's trying to jump beyond it is the illusion itself. See it for what it is, as an illusion, the thoughts. Even the I thought itself. And then once you directly experience who you are, you fix the attention on that. The sense-felt experience of silence, stillness. Hold on to that as much as possible. And then when the vasanas comes, the illusion appears, see it as an illusion and shift the attention back to the presence of who you are. It's that simple. And you're always welcome if we do a weekly open session or sharing.
I would love that, to try the sharing thing on Gmail or however you do it.
Yeah. Thank you very much. If you have questions or doubts or anything, you're always welcome to contact us, and we'll do the best we can to be in communication and maybe clear some doubts so the mind can continue directing itself back home to you.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much for your time.
You're most welcome.